Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. This is our SSP gathering. We have a wonderful committee, a critical mass of SSP experiencers, largely thanks to Alex Galvez, who is here and our co-host and knows all these wonderful people. And he's going to help with some introductions.
Yeah, well, everybody, of course, Dan, do you want to introduce yourself first? Because I feel you have so much to offer all of us. And if you could just give us a little bit of synopsis of who you are, what you do.
You meant me, huh?
Yes, master.
Okay. So most people here know me, Dan Winter, fractalfield.com. Notably, since our last meeting, we've done 3 recordings approaching 50,000 views with Elena Denon. One of them was on propulsion of UFO propulsion physics. One was on the plasma intelligence of advanced beings, the 9. And the last one was on the plasma physics of stargates and portals, some of which we'll be talking about tonight. So lots of fun to come. Yes, my function here is kind of the electrical engineer of the spiritual evolution. Hopefully, maybe it's a nice way of putting it. Anyway, so more to come. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, sure. And Sheila, would you like to just introduce you to the team here and what you do and what you offer? And
Sure. So I'm Sheila Seppi, and I am the founder of the WISH Alliance. And WISH stands for Walk-ins, Indigos, Starseeds, and Hybrids. But it's not just an organization for this particular group of individuals. We work with a broad spectrum, and everyone actually is welcome. When I first started this, it was kind of an extension of the work that I had begun doing, pulling people together, creating, well, I had written the book, Walk-ins, Cosmology of the Soul, and it was kind of that because my guides woke me up in the morning and said, this is what you're going to do, and get this organization together. And they basically laid out the format for me, but it's really a place where it's a safe place where we all can get together and we can share and we can talk about different subjects. We have presenters twice a week on Mondays and on Thursdays. Everything that we do is at no charge. We are now at the point where we're starting to have a section where people can share a little bit of their story if they would like. And we keep that on, the website, and that way other people can see each other's stories and they can begin to share and network and, really find a community for themselves. And so that's wishalliance.org if you want to check it out. I'm going to be with you guys as much as I can this morning. I have to actually jump off in about 20 minutes, but then I'm going to rejoin the meeting because I already had a previous meeting. But thank you so much, Alex, for inviting me and getting the opportunity to meet everyone and to let people know about the WISH Alliance. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And there'll be more people coming on. We're expecting probably about 10 to 15 people today from all different walks and backgrounds. So just to keep this concise and keep this timely. Dan, how long do we expect to record? Can we estimate?
Yeah, well, we could do an hour and a half even. It's flexible. I'm excited that Jean Charles Moyen appears to have just joined us. I think that's wonderful. In fact, Jean Charles, are you there?
Yes. I start my video.
Okay. Well, just to say that Jean Charles, thanks to Alex Galvez, we had a sort of a critical mass team of SSP experiencers. This is what, I don't know, 5th or 6th gathering in Confer. And part of the subject of what we're going to talk about today had to do with, in the big lecture I just did with Elena Denon, it was the physics of stargates and portals, which are an extension of the physics of lucid dreaming. And I wanted to use your story as the example.
Oh, thank you. Hello, everybody.
So please introduce you. Want to just say hi, and Jean Charles.
Hello.
Gene, may I just add before we start, because we're going to have about 15 people, so we're trying to introduce everybody, their websites, to promote their businesses, obviously to community. We're building community here. So keep it concise to about 1 minute so that we can get, if there's 15 people, that's going to be about 15 minutes or so.
Or maybe a couple for Jean Charles, but go ahead, Jean Charles. Yeah.
Okay, it's very difficult to to short my story, because it's a very long story. But the principle is when I was 4, I was abducted during my summer holiday with my parents. I was on the beach playing in the sand, and suddenly I disappear 1 hour. Everybody search me, but they don't find me. And 1 hour after, I reappear in the same place. And after that, I am developing a lot of abilities like telepathy, telekinesis, the light off, the light on, and can healing somebody or animals, and teleportation, really physical teleportation. I disappear in a place and reappear in another place in a few kilometers. And my parents was a witness of this about my life. And I have a lot of things. When I was dreaming in my bed, they find something strange in my bed. I dream I am in Bahamas when I was a little boy, and when I wake up, I was 10, and there is a sand in my feet. And we live in the 9th floor in a building in France, in Paris. So there is something concretely, you know, and exactly. I bring a lot of stuff in my life. So after that, when I was teenager, I was a lot of experience in the summer camp. I have an headache, a sunstroke, and I was hospitalized. And during my hospitalization, they discovered something strange in my head, like a lot of piece of, yes, implants. And the doctor think it was a dust in a radiography. But after that, they discovered twice the X-ray, and there is the same things. So they give me a room to examination for me, and I remember I was very dizzy and very dehydrated, and they have put in my arm a solution to rehydrate me, because the sunstroke was very hard for my head. And I remember one night the doctors come in my room with the military guys, and I try to understand, but I can't understand, because the military guys spoken German, and they look my X-ray, and after that I remember a lot of things. In the night, there is a military guys, old military guys, enter in my room and tell me, don't worry, everything is okay. Follow me, hurry up, because we miss the jump. And I don't understand why he say miss the jump. So I follow the old guy in the corridor, and we take an elevator, and we go down very deep. And when the doors open, there is a big hangar with a lot of child. And he left me here, and good luck. And I arrived on the table, and a woman gave me a suit with an emblem in the chest. It was a horse, like a Pegasus, you know? Pegasus. Horse with wing horse. And yes, and go to the lineup with the other children, and we enter in the light. And I remember after that, I reappear in a big hangar, different hangar, very futuristic hangar, and they test the fear of each children, and very frightening. And every child failed the test, but not me. And I recognize the X-ray, the doctor with the military, and he tell, this is the boy I told you. And they tell me, go to a black room, and inside the black room, there is a big mantis. And they look at me with the big eyes, and she put her big paw in my shoulder and tell me in telepathic, don't worry, everything is okay. You have been chosen. And I collapse. And yes.
Let me interrupt for a moment, just because I really want to give space for the community first before we start. So let me just open up by telling people the initiative of this meeting was to split it up a bit between the experiencers themselves and their experience, very much like you're doing now, and Dan's work on fractal physics and how this all ties in together for our own evolution. So if I may, pardon, but I just want to interrupt you for a moment. Just we have 15 people. If we give them just a minute each.
Yeah.
Who you are, what's your website, and you could post your websites on the chat to support the community.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Just give me about 15 minutes and we can return to your story, or Dan, whatever way you want to.
Yeah, because we wanted to talk about the physics behind Jean Charles' story was part of the, but yeah, we want to do a few more introductions. So please, yes.
Yeah, if I may. So just a few more, like 15 minutes tops. So let me just see who's here again. So if we can go to FC, do you want just 1 minute quickly who you are, what you do, and post your website?
Because it's very long. My story is very long. I have a website, not website. I have a channel, YouTube channel. It's very. There is a 15 video capsule about my life. The name of the channel is a Connection Alien. All my stuff is in English language. Okay, Connection Alien.
Yeah,
okay?
You can put it in the chat too, so we all have it.
Connection Alien. Good.
Yeah,
okay.
yes. And there is my interview with my friend Michael Sala and Elena Danaan.
Yes.
So all about my life is here. So thank you very much.
And we want to use some of Jean Charles' experience when we talk about the physics shortly. So more to come on.
Physics. Yeah, great. It's physics. All my experience is physics. It's not. There is some hypnosis because there is a lot of hole in my memories, but everything is really consciousness with my parents, my friends, and a lot of things. Okay, it's not a hypnosis memory. It's a real.
So FC, whoever, madam, I don't know your name. It just says FC. Do you want to introduce yourself very quickly, what you do, who you are, and post your information on the chat? If you don't want to speak, you can just pass it on.
It's Fatiha. She's our good friend from Canada. She's involved with very high-level research, but she wishes to remain mostly anonymous, I think. Was that right, Fatiha? Yes.
Okay, no problem. John Bertoli, fellow trainer like myself, do you want to go into about a minute or so just in honor of the group and what you do, and post your website on the chat?
Sure. I'm a lifelong experiencer. Alex asked me the other day, you know, what's the first experience I remember having, and that was basically coming home from kindergarten. I remember seeing a triangular polished metallic craft. I had telepathy during that experience, but there were things that happened beforehand. I've seen many beings throughout my life. I have had abductions against my will, and I've also interacted with higher dimensional extraterrestrials, and do till this day. I have ongoing interactions and relationships with a lot of my guides. Basically where I am right now is I used to do a decent amount of public speaking and presentation. I'm very much into the star languages and their uses and how we can use them to, in a practical sense, in the three-dimensional life and three-dimensional world, as well as the spiritual, and bringing balance and alignment, things like that. So I used to do a lot of groups. I spent a lot of time up at the Isetti Ranch. I actually lived up there for 8 months, and I did activation, light language activation. We call it light language. I call it, it's their star languages to my understanding. And they, you know, we have our physical lineages. We also have our universal lineages. We can get into that later. But anyway, so I started doing a lot of these activations, and it was kind of funny because I was a pro drummer for a large part of my adult life. And I remember having a conversation with one of my guides, and they said, you know, you're going to help people. In a sense, you're going to be somewhat of a spiritual leader. And my thing at the time was, I'm a progressive metal drummer. How does that work? And it was like, that's precisely the thing, because that type of approach is very refreshing. And a lot of people in the community that I was involved in at the time, they were inching towards the spiritualism, but they were kind of afraid of it. And so having one of their own, you know, a metalhead actually, you know, fully embracing these types of things, you know, it was really big. So like I said, I did a lot of public speaking. I had a Facebook group, which I actually closed that out last year, but I had like 700 members on that. And it's all about the star languages. As of late, what I'm doing is working with a lot of individuals and using the star languages as channels to heal the physical body, heal illness, injury, as well as performance and things like that. So these are the very practical aspects of it. But there were a lot of situations, and I mean, later on, if we're doing a Q&A, I'll answer any questions, you know, that are related to those areas. But I have I'll put it in the chat. It's going to take me a little bit with the setup I'm running a little more difficult, but I have a YouTube channel also. It's called We Speak Unity Light. I'll repeat, We Speak Unity Light. And that's got a lot of meditation videos. It's got some guided meditation. It also has some short videos describing some of my experiences with extraterrestrials, with the Sasquatch people and so forth. But that's my story.
Thank you, John. Exciting.
Daryl James, if you want just a minute again, because we have about 20 people. If we go like 3-4 minutes, that's an hour there. So we're just a quick introduction, who you are, what you want to share, and maybe a business website if you want to post here. Thank you.
Sure, yeah, I'm Daryl James, and
Hi, James.
I volunteered for the SSP when I was stationed in Newquay, England, at a base called JMF RAF St. Morgan. I was in Dark Fleet, and then I was in Solar Warden, and my website is daryldjames.com. And I mean, that's about it as far as introductions go.
Okay, thank you, brother. Thanks for being here. Apollymi Mandylion, if you want to introduce yourself, post your website, a minute or two.
Sorry, it's early in the morning here. My name is Apollymi Mandylion. I am part of the Super Soldier Project, along with SSP, MK Ultra, that sort of thing. For my experiences, I got recruited when I was about 5 years old, and I'm still currently in a lot of projects that I'm still finding out, including Section 13, which is part of the Area 51 organization, and the Dark Fleet for the Aryan Nazis, and I was part of some of the Dark Draco stuff when I was younger. So I do have a website called galaxyofunity.squarespace.com that will have my full disclosure, including a web series that we're going to be making that will be live action, but I also do interviews as well that we just started this February. I also have a Facebook page of Apollymi Mandylion that has a lot of my knowledge and some of my abductions, both good and bad, on there, and ET interactions with the high councils of Andromeda and some of the other ET councils as well. So wow. I've also had interviews with James Ring and a couple other people.
Nice. Wonderful. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, Jean, we have you. Annalisa, do you want to give us a short intro of who you are, what you do?
Annalisa, oh, you're mute. Yeah, unmute your mic.
Hi,
Hi, Annalisa.
well, yes. The only memory I have as a soldier was just, waking up on ships and going, oh no, not again, going to bases. I never really recovered all those memories. The memories I do have were the ones with the love and light services. And they just, lifted my vibration so that they would know when fear would step in the human being, so they would know when to assist. But I did have some spooky stuff with the darker ETs, and I was kind of used like a test subject for both. The dark side would take me and put lots of implants in me. The light side would take me and clean me up. So I just kind of went back and forth almost my whole life. I haven't recovered much of my memory, but what I have done is activated the cosmic genetics so that the light languages stream through like a field. So I'm like in the field of the cosmic unity a lot of the time, and it's incredibly blissful. I'm still learning how to slow it down so I can translate, but mostly it just comes in as a field of being. And the website that's not currently listed, but it is Quantum We. And I do vibrational healing and mostly just provide the field to take people into unity consciousness. And I think, like John said, some of the light language sounds, I don't say I'm a healer, but language will come through and I'll hear, oh, now that person's not going to have cancer, but it is remarkably efficient.
Wow.
Anyway, it's nice to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Annalisa. You're looking good.
Thank you, sweetie.
Geraldine, hit us up.
Geraldine, yes.
Hi, everyone. So wonderful to be here. Good morning. So my name is Geraldine Orozco. I'm a lifelong contactee. I've had several experiences all my life regarding Draco experiences, underground bases, even as a child being utilized for psychic abilities. And then later on, more recently, taken into underground bases here in the US. As well as participation in the hybridization program and doing some research there in the hybridization program. So my primary work, I'm a psychotherapist. I am do something called DNA reprogramming. My primary research is on holographic DNA, understanding the multidimensional body and how we access, contact and all this interaction. My website is hybridmother.com. It's an international support group for experiencers, and also my website, geraldineorozco.com. So thank you for having me here.
Geraldine's amazing, and she's very famous. She's very humble as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geraldine.
James Newman, please step up, brother.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for sending the invitation, Mr. Galvez. Sit vir mandian ng corbi diarkirit sut nur valian nor. Nikir niandon sumor vidiaran ng kianan par. Amniaram gor vidiaran musitir mut niara foriasir. My earth name is James. My soul name is Tiamu. I am of the Nabayan people from the Phoenician galaxy, and I'm here as a messenger. I am here as a messenger visually, in art, and in expression of vibration, and for the expression of the intention that vibration holds. There is no translation for what is from the ethereal. It is simply holds an intention for its expression. It's not in a language because it wouldn't be as limited, it would be too far limited for that. And so my work here is assisting humanity in returning to the perspective of the whole as an integrated form, stepping out of the I, stepping away from me and my this stuff, my stuff, that stuff, and remembering that to ascend, we must return to that integration of the whole. I do things as far as images are something called the time alchemy mode, which expresses what is written in the DNA of whoever I'm painting for, expresses multiple journeys here in the physical world and in other dimensions, so that they have a greater clarity of who they are on a vibrational level. And so that that tuning fork is rung so that they can find their way home. And my website is alignmentlife11.com. I have an Instagram page, also Alignment Life. I have a group called Alignment Life on Facebook. We try and keep it all in one name. And I'm soon to begin a YouTube channel called HOME as an acronym, which is Harmony of Mother Earth. And it's all going to be all about returning humanity to the harmony that nature and all other species in this universe already participate in. And how we find our way of letting go, taking that leap away from the individual back into the whole as an integrated form. And I thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Blessings, James. Oh, inspiring.
Alan Rhodes. Let us
Hey, Alex. How you guys doing? Hello, everybody. I'm primarily here for the physics, as Dan probably knows, because I am not an experiencer. But all of your stories intrigue me, and I'm always looking for different areas of physics and science that can contribute something that can be connected in some ways, like what used to be called technology transfer. In industry is what I do basically. Since I've been in psychotronics, the U.S. Psychotronics Association, pretty much all my life now, many years, and I've met Dan through the USPA and many other people that we talk about a lot, like Tom Bearden and well, there's so many of them that are great icons of our search for knowledge. So I'm here for the physics, and take it away.
We should say that Alan is an audio engineer expertise as well, among many other things.
Brother Bond, Sean Bond.
Thanks for inviting me on. My name is Sean Bond of the Psionic League, and we're all about bringing together groups of like-minded individuals that want to expand the great full potential of humanity in our psionic latent activations of abilities, bringing them online, and how to find your true greatest self deep within your heart, help solve problems on the earth. I am also an experiencer, many times visited by different ETs and events of targeting. I am a healer. I know many modalities, and I go into reading the DNA library books and light genetics, as well as the Akashic record, and going beyond into past lives and bringing forth connection with my clients to their soul family, ancient off-world soul family, and then bring them here to support Earth in what we're going on with the problems here. Bring about a equal playing field for humanity and the struggle that we're facing, and to make a difference here by helping people unlock their true power to bring the balance of goodness to any evil, ending slavery are some of our goals, ending the harvesting, the limitation on our psionic potential from other species, connecting to other worlds, teaching telepathy. I also have gotten well known for healing super soldiers and targeted individuals. I have been targeted a lot growing up, and as you turn on that light inside yourself, it attracts many moths to the flame. If they see you as a threat, they'll send heavier and heavier stuff. I've been attempted in targeting to stop my heart, as well as shut down many organs, and I've learned to counter those psionically, and then teach others how to empower into that, and then to where we are way more stronger than any of these other things, and then finding the secret of humanity, which is like, oh, what are we? This great mystery of like some super hybrid of all these over 10,000 plus species all together, and this back and forth between what we are, between the unity of dark and light, angels and demons, and many other different forms from other worlds. And to bring that to a whole peace equation of the unity of all species to end all wars. go into reality warping, and I've been a psionic specialist in many temporal dilation visitations and teaching much of factions and groups, as well as like to get taught myself, and everyone has wisdom and knowledge, and we're all here to bring pieces of the puzzle together. I'm also here to protect the timeline of Earth in many different ways from getting way worse. And many other here, as in this call, I can tell, are doing that. So thank you all for doing that. Thank you very much. Honored to be in this call.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Tia, 1 minute or so. We can put that in a time capsule of a minute.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can
and
keep it short.
psionicleague.com's my page, and also YouTube if people want.
Post it up. Put it on the chat.
All right, so my website's not really the greatest. I am a targeted individual. I call myself a trafficked and targeted individual because it's ongoing. I'm continuing to be taken on a very regular basis, but mostly I think through the Anunnaki actually right now is who is interrogating me the most. But yeah, SSP, I was taken as a child, MK Ultra, Montalk, Alters, Mars, Draco, Space Nazis, Anunnaki. Anyways, if you are interested in trying to connect with me, just go to my website, tiaakrish.com. You can see how my name is spelled there on the screen. But I'm trying to do my best to keep things rolling, and I keep being hampered and thwarted and so on and so forth. So the projects I'm working on for disclosure are just like delay. I'm actually in the process of moving because there's electromagnetic radiation that's very high in my home right now, and I have to turn off electricity. So anyway, so that's the short synopsis there.
Thank you, Tia. Mahib, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Galvez, and thank you, Dan, for the invitation. It's good to be here. I'm from North India. I live close to the Himalayas. I come from a multi-generational military family. So yeah, I'm an MK Ultra experiencer and a psionic super soldier. I joined the Indian Air Force after college. I was training to be a fighter pilot, which is when my 20 and back MyLab experience actually happened. Spiritually, I'm connected to the Himalayan yogic masters. I am a practitioner of Kundalini Kriya Yoga, initiated by my master, Yogiraj Siddhanath, with whom I've been connected since many past lives. So yeah, that's the short of it. Thank you.
Wow, wonderful.
Thank you, brother.
Glad you're here.
Thank you for being here. Dada, about a minute if you can, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dada. I'm a friend of Dan and Valerie.
Wow.
And thank you very much for inviting me tonight. I'm an Acharya, which is meaning a teacher of the Ananda Marga spiritual movement from India. And I've had an interest in this field for about 25 years with my first meeting of contactees, and it's remained an interest that I have sort of integrated with the yoga meditation tradition. And I guess that's sort of where my interest lies today also. So thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, Dada.
Thank you. FC, whoever FC is, can you unmute yourself? And if you'd like, you don't have to share if you don't want to. I know Natasha already says she doesn't need to share. FC, do you want to share? But you need to get yourself off mute.
She stepped away for a moment. Hang on.
Okay, thank you. Natasha, we're going to skip. Valerie, do you want to share a little bit about who you are, what you do in about a minute, please?
Hello, everyone. So I'm a dance partner, and I invited Dada Ravi Shekhar, who I know that has been in this, has this interest. And I'm not an experiencer, not that I know, but in our teachings from P.R. Sarkar, I learned recently that, you had the Mahabharata. Mahabharata was about to create unity in India. And there is another name, maybe Dada, you can help me, which I thought was the unity of the planet. It's not it. And can you tell us, Dada? It's the unity of...
Yeah, it's literally meaning the unity of the universe. It was this Mahabharata, which many of you will know, related to the time of Krishna. And that was the establishment of what's called Dharma through the subcontinent of India. And the name that the yogis of that tradition are giving for this period is called Mahavishwa. So Vishwa is literally meaning the universe. So it's literally Mahavishwa, the great universe. Specifically, the project becomes the extension of Dharma, the righteous mode of living of developed beings on a universal level. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. And thank you. Valerie is the ultimate networker, by the way, and the website for their grouping is consciousearthalliance.com.
It seems to be my function. I don't know why, but it happens.
It's all good. Blessings. A blessing.
Hello, Alan, also. And what's your name? Galvez?
Alex.
Alex.
Yeah. Edmund, about a minute, who you are, what you do while you're here.
Oh, what I do is I rhyme all the way through. I unhypnotize the mind. I break the mind of the grind. I'm a twin soul find. Divine masculine, locating divine feminine, ending duality and inner famine. Ugh. What a powerful time this has been. Multidimensional within for all of us. 3D crunch, 5D punch through. Becoming real, that's what I do.
Oh, brother, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Edmund.
And we saved the best for last. Siva Foster.
Hey, Andrew.
Hello,
Hi,
hello
I'm
everyone. Hello, Dan.
Did you get my message?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to all mute yourself. Can you mute yourself? Annalisa.
Okay.
Annalisa, can you mute, please? Anybody who's not listening, who's not speaking, please mute yourselves. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hello, hey. Welcome everyone, and good to be here. Thank you, Alexander, for inviting. I'm one of those who representing the World Brotherhood Union, Cosmos Federal Assembly on the planet. This is actually application plan for very advanced plans on the planet. It's also Omega Exit, and we have this beautiful frequency document or cosmic constitution. It's also in English right now. The original language is in Turkish. The knowledge book, the website is usa.theknowledgebook.net. And this book is actually the frequency keys, the exit through Omega. So it's actually integration with your true self, your true cosmic light body, with your true cosmic consciousness. So the frequency keys are in the book, and we're representing this beautiful Brotherhood Union, very humble name actually, Cosmos Federal Assembly in United States, but it's very, very active in Europe, in many countries over the world. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Of course. And thank you all for being here. So I'm Alexander Galvez. I'm a fitness coach by trade, but I know now because of the post-2012 stellar activation cycle that I need to take a strong leadership role in bringing, in turning the dharmic wheel here on Earth and bringing all of our star families here together and unifying down here. So we're bringing heaven to Earth now, right? But staying well grounded in the process. And so I love you all. Like this, I don't have much of a family here left, but I consider you all my brothers and sisters, really, and I love you all. And thank you for being here. Dan, take it away.
Yeah, we really have to thank Alex, because Alex knows everybody, and he's just a wonderful host. It's a good thing. Yes. So the theme that we chose it's nice to, people here have fabulous talents. They have been chosen for a reason. And I honor all of that. And my talent is a fairly narrow segment here. I have focused for most of my life on kind of the electrical engineering physics of these stellar phenomena, advanced consciousness, ET technology, advanced technology. And so tonight's conversation, I was hoping to pursue just for even a half hour, a little while, a particular part of that, which was, you know, I've done a series now, we've done 3 with Elena Danaan, like 50,000 views each into that. It's amazing. Elena has a wonderful audience. And that's a question I was hoping to chat with you all about later. You know, Elena says most of the bad guys are out of here now. I'm very interested in your opinion. but the theme of what I've been sharing with Elena's help, and I really appreciate her. So the first one I did with Elena was about the physics of UFO and extraterrestrial propulsion. And we talked in detail about the physics of the warp versus impulse power basically being the vortex impulse, the mercury vortex engine, whereas the warp drive being basically the barium strontium titanate or the lithium niobate phase conjugate crystal called Koski frost. So we talked about the physics of their propulsion tech. In the second major film we did on the physics of advanced plasma intelligences, specifically the 9, whom we now believe is literally, in one sense, the return of Thoth Enki, actually, as is specifically announced as Thoth in the book Only Planet of Choice. And that becomes relevant because tomorrow, Geraldine and Orozco and I are speaking, kind of keynote speakers for this international conference of Portal to Ascension on extraterrestrial history and technology. And tomorrow, I'm going to try to work that out. Well, how did Thoth, the same guy playing with Enki down here, how long ago, whom Elena says was came from Orion and the Anunnaki, and most of whom were interventionists, how did he end up being the advanced plasma intelligences of the 9 and the returning seeders of the intergalactic council, very advanced beings, advanced plasma intelligences, which is literally 9 toroidal domains. And that film came out very well. And then just a few days ago, we made the final in the series, which was on the physics of portals and stargates, actually. And that conversation specifically is what I would like to play with a little more this evening, in part because Jean Charles Moyen was kind enough to join us. Thank you, Jean Charles.
So Dan, let me just say, so is it okay for everyone? In fact, let's ask everyone, because this is all our venue, right? This is a community. We all have equal choice here. So how do we want to do this? Dan, do you want to speak for like a quarter of the time or a little bit of the time? Then we open it up for others to, I think it would be great if others can give their.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. A monologue is boring. so I'd like to maybe share for like even 20 minutes, whatever, not that 20, 25. And, even a few comments, if something urgent comes up, let's play. But then after that, absolutely open dialogue for sure. And Alex is our mediator because Alex can keep us from fighting.
Yeah, play nice. All right. So go ahead, Dan.
Yeah. But you see, when I did this conversation with Elena Danaan on the physics of stargates and portals, you know that I knew many of the Montalk survivors, as by the way, Alan Rhodes lives next door and knows many of them as well. And when I set up the media lab that became Gaia TV, it was the Rick Hasson and the producers of Stargate that were there. and later, my work with the Ophanim Enochian, which is the plasma symmetry physics of angelic intelligence bodies, it was centered around the Ophanim Enochian alphabet, the angel alphabet, and the physics of the hypercube symmetry of Ophanim I've been working on for 20 years, goldenmean.info/Ophanim. And those are the letters used on the edges of literally the Stargate in the movie Stargate. We think we know why, because that's how the plasma domains were literally tilted, steered, nested, embedded, and focused into hypercube physics, which is more accurately called phase conjugation. Anyway, the third impulse for my wishing to do that conversation with Elena on stargates and portals was the fact, and I may say this with a bit of pride, perhaps, that our Theraphi.net phase conjugate plasma doing rejuvenation commercially successfully in 25 countries, literally time reversal by, there are detailed reports, admittedly from people who are quite sensitive, detailed reports of that plasma field, which I wrote the equation for, triggering lucid dreaming. And where I started the conversation with Elena was to say the physics of what triggers a lucid dream, and we believe we actually understand a good chunk of that. The aura compresses centripetally, the physics of bliss, literally, and with successful implosive compression, for example, golden ratio brainwaves, flameinmind.com, the measurement of bliss. So that bliss first starts with compression implosion. Then there's the possibility of the radiance we call bliss, because after compression, the aura has absorbed the transverse electromagnetic inertia, and due to the compression, squirting out through the center of that squirt gun pine cone vortex at the Planck threshold is what's called the longitudinal EMF coherence, sometimes called the vril, or the ba from the ka, or the Kesjan body, or in Tibetan, the rainbow light body, which is basically radiating coherently a longitudinal compressional wave, incorrectly called scalar, enabling inhabiting an array. And the fractal nodal dodecicosine geometry of that array is the higher light body and what advanced plasma being intelligence occupies, and literally the physics of collective unconscious and where DNA, radio, and ancestor phone calls is possible, and where cathedral sacred sites, et cetera, et cetera. So if we're right that we help with that compression during this plasma Theraphi.net, and people report replicably triggering lucid dreaming, and by the way, also report successfully releasing ghosts. And we think we understand the physics because the plasma of a ghost, which Karatkov has measured, where it goes, when it goes after death, and where it goes after death, and the plasma of your local ghost is looking for sacred space, place of power, implosive compression. And the reason that releases a ghost is because the memory in that plasma domain, when implode compressed through at the Planck threshold, enabling radiance into the longitudinal array, inhabiting the world of ancestral memory called Hey Ave Heaven, the breath of charge taking flight, Champs-Élysées, Plains of Sharon, the names for that array. And you don't get in there unless you do compression good. And we've been teaching the physics of successful death as a black hole for years. Anywho, so we think we understand what this implosive plasma compression is enabling and why it triggers lucid dreaming. And by the way, again, using Jean Charles Moyen as an example, which by the way, Jean Charles, we did for that film. When Jean Charles says he came back from the lucid dream with sand between his toes, you know, where's the physics here? I'm an electrical engineer. I want to talk about the physics of what enabled that. In fact, Jean Charles, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jean Charles, you know, Jean Charles was kind enough to send his major film. I think it's called South Shore, right, Jean Charles? And in there, Jean Charles admits that one of the things that was common to some of those lucid dreamings was you got underwater. Was that right, Jean Charles?
Yes. The first time it was the sand in my bed, and my parents protect my secret, and my father tell me if you can teleport something, go more far. And oh yes, and I have a dream. I was in a planet. The name was Antares. There is a crystal and water and hybrid and beings, a lot of things, and it was a very lucid dream. And I wake up the next day, and I tell me, oh, maybe I can return in this place and bring something. So I take a bag with a bottle, empty bottle, and I dream I was in the same place, but I was with my pajamas, and it's like, oh, I control my dream. It's not normal. So I take my bottle and I fill my bottle with a crystal inside, and I go to meet a hybrid and a lot of things. And I wake up in the morning, and suddenly I discover my bag, and I check my bag, and flock, there is a bottle with the water and the crystal inside. And I showed to my parents, and my parents was, oh my God. And my mother cooking, and she burned her hand, and my father take the water, and in a little piece of cotton, take to the injury of my mother, and it's disappear instantly, and no injuries. And after that, my father put a lot of water to have more water, but he killed the water. She turned to black. But we keep the crystal in a little box. The crystal was Antares crystal in the water. And a few days after, they disappear. Like other thing I bring, something, somebody don't want, I keep that and disappear.
It's beautiful. The Jean Charles story is in great detail in the Elena Denon films and on his website. And that's so much appreciated, Jean Charles. I'm so glad you're here. And so if we could now try to talk about the physics of what enabled that, one part of that physics is, I would hypothesize actually that your aura, Jean Charles, was probably enabled quite dense. In fact, someday I'd love to measure your brain waves.
Yeah. And with Elena, we have the same memories about the same spaceship.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And
amazing.
It's amazing because
it's
in
so
life
blissful.
we're crying together because I don't know Elena in this time with a book, and she described
the same spaceship.
It's just the same spaceship, a bar with a drink, a blue drink. And I tell, oh, I remember the bar. It's with a bay window with a space view, and there is a robo like a bartender in the levitation.
And they both remember the same thing.
And what sort of drink? Oh, I remember. This is a blue drink with a little bubble inside. Oh my God, is this the same? And she showed me the book. I never read her book, and we have the same memory.
It's so beautiful that confirmed. It's wonderful. But Jean Charles, we really want to try to get to the physics here if we could. So with your help. So the reason I brought up the water, I noticed in your film, you showed you actually got in the bathtub one time. And just as you put your head underwater, you see. Yeah. So the other example here, when we're talking about the physics of stargates and portals, more than one advanced experiencer here, actually JP working with Michael Sala, reported in the very advanced underground arc in the Bermuda Triangle that they were shown a portal. And what that portal was is they get into this room, they hear this low frequency sound. We think we know the frequency of that infrasound. And there's a giant suspended bubble of water in the center of the room. And coming in and out of it is a portal, a stargate. You can go places, and the water's the membrane. And also in the film Stargate and all of the related, you're always approaching this threshold, the surface of like a water bubble, and you stick your finger through the surface of that bubble, and you're on the other side suddenly. So if there's an electrical engineering question here is, what is happening to liquefaction at the surface of that water at that Stargate, as in the movie and as in your experience with water, et cetera, et cetera. And you see, our work to know what that is begins with our understanding how we used phase conjugation, which is basically perfect harmonic cascade based on golden ratio, tuned to Planck, two pine cones kissing noses. And we do that with plasma with infrasound, and the plasma fields converge, Theraphi.net, and that, among other things, triggering time reversal rejuvenation and helping people in 25 countries, and triggering lucid dreaming.
Yeah. And when I was recruited in a secret space force, French space force, because somebody tell about Solar Warden, but it's American program, right? But in France, never heard before. I was in a Starfleet. So the name of the spaceship was a Solaris. It was a part of the fleet of Solar Warden, and we were with the beings and American and Asian and a lot of things Now we spoke about a space force with a lot of countries, and with Elena and a friend, a French friend, a writer and experiencer, David Rousseau. He write a book, and I make my movie. Few years before I know these guys, with the same detail, the same school, the same name of spaceship. It's impossible. We have the same memories of the same mission of Mars, of Draco, of a lot of things. And when I was with my lucid dream, I met somebody in the Bahamas. I was 20 years. I'm working in a shop, and somebody tell me, "Oh, I know you." It's like a déjà vu. I know your name, but I dreamed these guys the night before. So it's, I don't, oh yes, I remember you, I dream of you. No, it's impossible. But the guys come back and tell me, "Oh, I remember you. You are Jean Charles, and we go to a boat in the Bahamas." And I was shocked by, it's impossible, it's a dream. And I go to the cache with to follow the guys, and it disappear. And it was insane because it was a dream. But
this is a beautiful. Yes, this really brings up our issue here. Jean Charles, we really want to focus on the science for a minute. Your example is perfect, but just to focus on the science, one of the ways you test lucidity in the dream is the participants can come back afterwards independently and can confirm having met each other in the lucid dream, exactly as Jean Charles is describing. But the thing we electrical engineers would like to do, Jean Charles, is understand the physics of that, quite literally. And so let's see if we can understand what that is. First, two things to talk about. One is, as we were saying, at the surface of the liquid, there's what's called the liquification plane. And that is the point where, for example, the hypercubo Feynman-Enochian letters focusing the toroidal domains called ancient sacred alphabet, which the tilt phase angle of the domain donuts is converging in the hypercube, which is phase conjugate, which pentodeca, implosive, called phase conjugation in optics, for example, where time reversal and negentropy has been measured. And clearly the physics of time reversal, even in conventional physics. So when those pine cones kiss noses, precisely at that liquefaction surface, there is a compression event that produces a kind of liquefaction. Specifically, what is liquefied? This is the point, this is literally the point which Einstein missed. Einstein knew that gravity could exist if charge could implode non-destructively. He called it infinite non-destructive compression. But of course, he didn't have a clue what a fractal was. But more importantly, he didn't have a clue where charge went out the center of the vortex. We now know at the Planck threshold. And where that charge goes is from transverse to longitudinal, which is literally the equation for what a gravity wave is at the Planck threshold at the liquefaction plane. And the reason death and bliss and stargates require a shareable emotion at that moment. You know, Elena and I talked about, well, if you're not focused, you get dizzy and you feel all these tingles. You feel tingles when you go through the Stargate. And if you're not centered, you could lose it. And what that centering, that literally that center of balance means, the same way you prepare for bliss or death or birth, actually, you have to go through a still point. And so the physics of what's happening at that compression plane, the liquefaction plane, is that the inertia is translated in vorticity from the transverse component coherently, contiguously, like pull yourself together, Charlie. Like you don't want to get fractionated at that moment. So down that wormhole of perfected compression, you then inhabit an array, literally the wormhole. Now in conventional physics, that's called entanglement producing Einstein-Rosen bridge. That's how they account for action at a distance, which Einstein, again, didn't have a clue. He called it spooky. But actually, entanglement perfected is what phase conjugation is, embedding perfected, nesting perfected. That's what that implosive compression of the pine cone is. So then, when it reaches that threshold, precisely tuned at the Planck threshold, The inertia is translated from up and down electromagnets to compressional longitudinal, sometimes called scalar. And that longitudinal wave we know now by Bearden's equation is what a gravity wave is. And we know by Raymond Chow's measure that it's golden ratio multiples times c, the speed of light. And in fact, it's a potentially infinite series of golden ratio multiples times the speed of light, meaning the bigger the Stargate, the farther you can go, which is why they're fighting over the one in Orion, because it's really big. So it's literally a compression success. And the geometry of that wormholes, for example, is why Jodie Foster had to use the dodecahedron to get there. And when she came back, they didn't know if it was a lucid dream or if it was real. And they spent the rest of the movie arguing about it.
Yes, the strange thing is when I teleport, I was with my clothes. I was not naked by chance, but it's instantly. It's very quick. I dream and I am here in the place. I dream and I can bring something. When I was a child, yeah.
And so that instantaneity of it has to do with the number of harmonics of golden ratio propagating down that array. Now, the key word here is inhabit the array. So it is proven that the dodecaecosa compression nodes, sometimes called sacred space of the Earth grid, measurably reduce nuclear critical mass, measurably produce military quality telepathy, and is the physics of where locating cathedral, labyrinth, Theraphi, and all action at a distance is enabled, because that's where the longitudinal nodes cross. So the professionals have told us that when the extraterrestrials set up stargates on the planet, they much prefer to use those nodes, and now we know the physics, because that's where longitudinal embedding is possible. It also explains what they call decadelta antenna. My friend Preston Nichols at Montalk, it all has to do with this implosive phase conjugate compression liquefying you. And the psychological component of this, and again, Elena and I talked about this, you know, on the day that Billy Myers was angry, they couldn't beam him up the Palladian starship because he couldn't do compression well. And by the way, on the day that you're angry is a bad day to die for the same reason. Because implosive compression, it doesn't, actually the harmonic series, if you look at the Centric literature, goldenmean.info/touch, the harmonic geometry of the compression wave that produces anger is 1/7 max destructive interference, whereas love, that hug is golden ratio, so it's implosive, it's compressible. So compressibility, which in psychology healing is called the collapse process. And compressibility in physics is called the charge implosion, which is literally the solution to the unified field, and successful compression is the solution to most every problem that physics knows, including urban design and alchemy and how to get through death and how to get through a Stargate. It's all about successful implosive compression. So the conclusion we came to really is that something like Theraphi.net, which is, you know, phase conjugate plasma field, measurably replicating lucid dreaming, if that became more broad spectral and more plasma dense, that's what a Stargate is.
Yeah, my brain is, I need a pause.
Well, but so I wanted to suggest about Jean Charles's experience here, which was how we get the inertia. See, Jean Charles, I think you have a talent here, which I think is fabulous, actually. Your talent is that your aura is probably very coherent, means that you can get to that moment of density, literally a still point. And the physics of how you inhabit a lucid dream is that then you're closing your eyes and the nodes of that array, you can begin to steer the nodes of that array at a distance. For example, Ingo Swann lighting a flame with his mind at a distance through a Faraday cage replicably. It's called flameinmind.com. Lighting a flame with your mind at a distance.
Turn it off.
We can measure the harmonics that enable that to happen in brain waves. It's golden ratio harmonics alpha to beta, which are Schumann. And so keeping your harmonics in golden ratio is the psychological correlate of bliss, but it's also of successful compression. And even the kids who can see without their eyes, that's also the brainwave signature, because the plasma vortex forms inside your head, and so you're blindfolded, but you look through the tornado and it's an eyeball. So it's all about generating a field of compression around your aura, which means, Jean Charles, actually, our hypothesis would be, with your wonderful talent for lucid dreaming so coherently that it is a Stargate, our hypothesis, Jean Charles, would be that your skill would work better at magnetic line crosspoints. Your skill would work best at sunrise and sunset, as Agnihotra does because it's phase conjugation of plasma. Your skill would work a little better at solstice and equinox, for example. So these major right angle cross points called four-wave mixing in phase conjugate optics, which is the real physics of astrology, clearly, indicate that the convergence of these compressions, because see what enables in physics, what enables phase conjugation in optics for lasers, and this is the first time time reversal and negentropy was measured. The reason they call it four-wave mixing is because those wave fronts from those two pairs of lasers have to meet with angstrom level accuracy to implode in this superconductive, superdielectric baryon striding tightening, the phase conjugate mirror, which is, remember, how literally how Nostradamus saw the future and how John Dee called the angels and how the Olmec called their ancestors, is basically a phase conjugate mirror. And much of the ET literature talks about these time portals, these devices. They look into basically a mirror and they basically time travel. Physics has a lot of information about phase conjugate optics and time reversal. For example, you can't time reverse toward disorder, you can only time reverse toward increased order. So that tells you a whole lot about negentropy and phase conjugation. Anywho, this is why ancestor memory lived in that mirror, because that's where the longitudinal array becomes accessible, actually, which is called heaven and song lines and dreaming tracks. It's ancestor memory because that longitudinal array is the physics of gravity, but it is the physics of DNA radio. And then in the more advanced material, we get into how super dielectrics also are the radio for the good guys and the bad guys. For example, black goo, super dielectric carbon nano, that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's, yes, please, go ahead. Go ahead, question.
Real super quick. I was at the ESETI ranch and I had an experience where I actually had physical sight of the Stargate that is there. Okay, it was a cloudy evening, and I looked down. There was no moon. I saw my shadow. I turned around the opposite direction and saw my shadow, and I was like, "How is this happening?" I looked straight up, and I can see part of the ring of the Stargate. Now, I need to tell you one other thing. During the eclipse up there. As the eclipse got more and more complete, I started seeing these sheets or waves, more accurately, waves of this teal energy pouring down off of Mount Adams towards the Stargate. That night, the actual one of, like, it seemed like part of a ring or a halo type object. It was huge, maybe 100 feet above me. It was that same teal energy, but back to the symbols, the light language symbols. You would look at one part of it and you see 5, 10 symbols, they would immediately change. They were in flux and it was rolling and rolling and rolling. And here's my question. Being in a meditative state, I asked the question and I was told that the Stargate is self-aware.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well said.
Stargate is self-aware, and you can actually converse with these portals and gates. And so I continued to do so, and it's very easy. I was blown away by how easy it was. But the energies and basically it boils down to intent. You know, what is your intent? Well, you know, I understand the physics, and I'm a geek. I love all this stuff. I suck it up with a sponge, like a sponge. However, I also like to simplify things and get directly to the point for it to function, for me to have it so it actually benefits me in the 3D world as well. So I asked simple, direct questions, and I got simple, direct answers. Absolutely fascinating stuff. But I will never forget seeing those symbols turn and turn and turn. And it speaks to me in my primary dialect. I was like, "Ugh." Took a hit. I was struck so hard in the heart chakra, knocked the wind right out of me. You know, my physical body, it took a minute to catch up. But anyway, I guess.
Well, that's so great. No, it's
so much
perfect.
of a question, but a statement.
You know, but it is the perfect reminder. So, you know, the whole Storal to the Mori of Deep Space Nine, which Roddenberry wrote just after he met the Nine through Puharich and Phyllis Schlemmer, which is, we've made a whole film about the Nine. The fact that once you get in the wormhole, not only is putting your base next to the wormhole the way to make money, you know, location real estate is being by the Stargate, of course. But what they discovered was that the wormhole had intent. And you know, sometimes when they were running from the bad guys and you get in the wormhole decides who's going to go and who's not going to go. So how did that wormhole get mined? That's the question. And you see, I think we have an answer to that question, actually. Well, you know, I worked with George Edgley in Budapest for years, and he was explaining how replicable it was that ball lightning responds to telepathy. And if you understand that ball lightning is a plasma donut, and the center of what keeps it centripetal is the phase conjugate implosion cone at the center of the plasma vortex, the same plasma vortex which causes gravity and causes consciousness and perception. So
donut or torrent?
It's a toroidal donut of plasma charge. Yes, the same way the photon travels as a
Hold off, Dan, because I want to open this up because some people have got.
Yeah, but just can I finish the thought? That no, but please.
No.
But to finish the thought, it's just that the center of the plasma donut, being phase conjugate implosive, is the beginning of all DNA radio. So essentially, the reason that the torus of ball lightning responds so well to telepathy is because this radio of mind exists wherever plasma implodes. And that plasma implosion, the more it's broad spectral, the more it is mindful, which is the more far
fucking lied, man.
Its field, the more far reaching. But go ahead, Alex, then.
Oh, no, I just want to open it up a little bit because I know some people have to leave. They have, you know, they're in different timelines, several major dimensional timelines, so they have to leave. So I just want to open it up a little bit. There's so much different variations of experience. I would love to hear from everyone. So I'd love like an open forum Q&A for everyone, not just Dan, but for all of us, if that's okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Well, let's open it up. Step forward.
Yeah, like one question I had for everyone is, do you agree with Elena that the bad guys have been booted out of here? There's the bad heat team.
By and part, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's encouraging. You know, she calls it the Nebu, the Greys, and the Dracos. She calls them Siakar. And she says most of them are out of the solar system, including Mars, Moon, and the underground bases, thanks to the Galactic Federation. That's what Elena's saying, and Michael Sala. We feel each other. We feel each other. And that's good.
I feel you, Annalisa. Totally about that.
All good.
Totally about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All good. All good.
So we have a lot of new people here who have not been with us before. If they want to, or anyone else who has something, you know, it's kind of like something really they want to share. Yeah, please, James, anyone, just throw it, open the circle.
Hi. Yeah, I have never been with this group before. I have worked a little bit with Geraldine. We have met in person once a few years back, and it was quite a blessing. A few things come to me. And I did make some notes there in the what do you call it, the chat, if anyone would like to look at things. What happens sometimes is I don't know if this is actually a word, but I make words up. When we cerebralize something and we stretch it this way, its fluidity of ascension is impeded. So the more we do this with it, the more we impede the fluidity of what is coming for us. And another thing that comes to me is that we only ever experience what we are in vibrational alignment with. Just like anything, the wormhole, as he was expressing to, holds a vibrational state and a vibrational intention. There's nobody there as a guard at the door. It is simply its vibrational frequency, and that which is not aligned with it cannot pass. There's no fight, there's no war, no need for warriors or guerreros or any of that.
Exactly.
And there's a saying that I've used a lot of times in gatherings: the very best way to win the battle is to leave the war. Leave the perspective of duality, to think that we have to constantly do this. It is illusional. And it has come to a point, as we can see in the greater world, it's become delusional. This need, instead of this need for integration with one another, and coming into a place where peace can reside within us all. But those who hold on to this perspective of, well, I've got to beat this one, and I've got to, you only make more manifest more of what is unneeded for this realm, because the new earth isn't, or the new dimensional perspective of what is about to occur for us all is not out there somewhere and going to come. It is awaiting our alignment with us, with it, and enough of us in alignment with its expression, its vibrational expression, to be expressed to us and through us as us. But we must first align with it. And to do that, we cannot have a perspective of this in any way, because that is an old paradigm, an incredibly old paradigm that is leaving and mostly has already all dissolved. We have to step into a unified perspective of that all things are possible. And as we step into that realm of possibility, we then allow for our alignment, a non-dualistic alignment. Divinity knows no gender. Divinity and what is of the ethereal knows no separation, no divisive words, or no division of category, no matter what it is. It is all an integrated aspect of the whole. Oneness isn't a singularity. It is an expression of the whole in its integrated form. And when we let go of the cerebral perspectives of so much and come into the vibrational integration of it, then we allow for the expression of what is to come. And so what Dan was saying about the possibility of there not being so many of whoever he's referring to out there, it is because so many have left the battle and have left the war itself. And come into that integrated place. And that's all it takes. We don't have to fight anything. That is a very, very old paradigm. All we ever have to do is come into that integrated space, and it no longer has a place.
A beautiful parallel metaphor in The Secret Places of the Lion, the famous spiritual book. And the lion at the portal serves you by smelling for fear. So when Jean Charles said, I was the one that wasn't afraid, because fear is the mind killer, because it resists compression, basically. So smelling for fear, when there's no fear, then so the lion served you at the portal. So that's what the Stargate itself smells for fear.
But also, I'd say too, the emotional, energetic, like just even like there's so much in your expression, James, that energetically muted into the feminine wisdom, energetically, vibrationally, and you know, where the old paradigm still stands in me is an emotional, are a series of emotional layers that are still arising from my subconscious. It's a process. The emotional dimension is a real dimension, and it's a dimension. The third dimension is the one, and the fourth dimension are the ones that really do still affect us. You know, as we as light workers are also fully in the human, you know, getting slapped around. I often refer to myself as an emotional rag doll being kicked around the house and still smiling. So we're still in it, you know, but that new paradigm that you so beautifully revealed, you know, that's also, you know, what we're like, our whole nervous system, our emotional system, our mental system is like, you know, it polarizes toward it, and we have these experiences, and then we, in the feminine, in nature, in physical matter, we do it, things physical matter. We exhale, we contract, we're in the seasons. This is just the beginning of spring. All this feminine wisdom that's not in the brain. You know, this is what we're going through, and naturally, you know, what is the natural part of our ascension? What is the natural thing that is drawing us to our passions? And it's opening up more and more and more and more and more. And thank you for letting me say something. I was just very moved to add to that.
Thank you. And
I would like to jump in. Can I jump in?
Mahip had raised his hand. Okay. Yeah, and then Annalisa, maybe? No, I don't know. Mahip?
Yeah. So there was this discussion about portals. So I had this very specific experience. So one of my alters, who is the XO of the Space Alliance flagship, the Andromeda, he was part of a Black Shield program. So Black Shield was a not-for-profit facility where they trained leak Sudartan super soldiers. But I was not leak Sudartan. I was in a very specific psionic program. They were trying to manifest they manifested my Lyran aspect. Like, I have connections with the Lyrans. So what I saw was, I saw what I perceived to be Black Shield. And there was this huge blue, like tank, a huge blue tank full of blue goo. And in this tank was this lion being, anywhere between 20 to 30 feet tall. He had a tail, he had a mane, his hands and feet were paws, just a beautiful being, very, very high dimensional. He was a very noble and loving consciousness.
Yes.
So this being, I was shown things about it. Like, he was able to channel these very high dimensional psionic energies. And one of the things I was shown was this being, he raised his hand was like a paw, and he manifested a portal right there in that area, in that Black Shield area. So there was this huge portal opened, and that portal you could use to travel between space and time, anywhere between space and time. He focused his psionic intent and he guided it with his hand, and there was this huge portal that opened. So yeah, that's something that came up with the portals for me.
Was that his right hand or left hand?
Right hand.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
I would hypothesize that blue liquid was a super high dielectric material similar to the gold impregnated water used in the film Dune for the Time Guild navigators. That super dielectric.
Water of life.
Yeah. And that's related to why being underwater was the beginning of Stargate. So super high dielectric media would enable the propagation of mindfulness. It would help, as it were. And the lion being fits the story so well as well. So Sekhmet is beautiful, powerful experience. Amazing.
Yeah, very powerful, very moving experience.
Thank you.
I know it was not a screen memory because I felt the sensation of the blue goo all over my body. I clearly felt the sensation, like this very cool and pleasant sensation on my body.
Yes. And sorting out which branches of the Nachtwaffen and the Dark Fleet, Johann Fritz, Will Nutter, is expert and has joined us many times, and will again. And I think it'd be fun for him and you to talk about that as well.
Yeah, he gave me, he channeled my records for me, basically. He did. He told me about my records, my service SSP service records.
I see. So yes.
He channeled my records for me, and a lot of it matched my own experiences and my own visions that were coming through.
I see.
So yeah, he's good friends. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
good.
friends with
And
him.
you agree with Elena that the Dark Fleet basically did get kicked out by the Federation now? Is that your experience
I
also?
would say by the Alliance, but yeah, more or less so.
Yeah. Okay.
I would emphasize the Alliance's role in the whole thing.
Great. So we have consensus. I like it. Annalisa was next, I think. Sorry.
Yes, yes. First, I just want to acknowledge this group that they're, and everyone's introductions, what kept echoing was this, that we're holding this in our bodies and in our consciousness, this field of unity. And that is the greatest gift. And what I wanted to share was an experience I had years ago about us. We're each portals through the core of our own being, through our own centers. We not only can go into the central sun, but we can go into the void and bring back, using our intention, whatever host intelligence. We host platforms of intelligences and Star Nation activations, whatever we choose to stand for and to bring in, that we're not actually just guests on the planet, we are host. We are co-creating. We decide what matrices we want to host on Earth, on our version of Earth. And together we could just make this so glorious and beautiful. And I'm so thrilled to be with all of you here that have this level of unity consciousness in yourselves and in your experience. It's just blowing my mind. I'm just really grateful to be here and look forward to seeing what we can do as what I call portal powered people.
Yeah, we collectively
every now is a portal.
we collectively take responsibility for. Exactly. Thank you, Emily. That was gorgeous.
The one who unifies is in the total, yes.
I just have to share that just brought very powerful tears of gratitude and feelings of home to me. And thank you for that. It was very moving to me.
I can feel it too, John. Thank you, sir. So many experiencers agreeing. The agreement is the magic.
Unity.
Dan, could you explain a little bit more about the bliss technology and how that's so important, critical to, like, there's so much pressure on in terms of the collective?
Yeah, when we say that fear is the mind killer, the opposite obviously is bliss. And bliss is the charge implosion. And the measurable correlate of that, golden ratio in brain waves and heart coherence, which we've been doing for years, flameinmind.com, realheartcoherence.com. Basically, the body relaxes enough to implode. It's very simple. But that is increasingly difficult to do when you live in electrosmog and bad environments. But if you could live in a wooden hut in the forest, it would be a whole lot easier, obviously. But at least now, bioarchitects.net, we can teach the science to architects to make a building where bliss is more possible. Meantime, hang out in nature if you can manage it. Because you can implode it. Is the old story. All of the hundreds of yogis who lived to be hundreds of years old on this planet, all of them did it in a cave, and not one of them did it in a modern house. Why?
With cell phone.
Yeah. When they stuck this wonderful new fiber internet in here a few days ago, and the guy didn't even know you could turn the Wi-Fi off. And when the Wi-Fi was on, there was 3 of us in the house screaming with pain. And we got that Wi-Fi off, and the whole house just went, ah. And that's just the beginning, because that's mindfulness needs the array.
I had a question.
Please.
So I'm still in the programs, and I have been since I was 5. So you said that if a body is in strife, then it can't use its abilities to do the implosion. I mean, I've been in the programs my whole life, and I'm still trying to figure out a lot of the science that my abilities have and use. And I'm trying to make a school to actually teach people how to use their abilities through science,
yes.
Which it's basic, but
beautiful.
Anyway, have always been constantly, either they force my emotions to be neutral, or I'm always like depressed or sad. Like I have augments in me that if I get super happy, it just swaps right over to you're immediately depressed, or you're just completely neutral. but that would keep my abilities from
Yeah.
being able to be used because
Yeah.
I can astral travel really quickly. You know, I've had moments of phasing where I just have objects pass through me, or I can pass through them, and yeah. So
You have abilities that are wonderful, but then of course you're very much in demand by the good guys and the bad guys.
yeah, it's kind of a tug of war with both.
But you know, a couple of metaphors that might help. You know, when a pilot, life or death, that he releases the bomb as he's flying over correctly, and if he focuses and analyzes it, gets super stressed and worried, then he's obviously going to miss. But if he just relaxes and gets super intuitive, or I think it was Frodo in Lord of the Ring or something, you know, the whole universe survival depends on your next move. So what do? You relax and get playful.
Yeah, because like when I was a kid, I was a lot more focused. I was, you know, because I went through so much training where you had to be either laser focused, control your emotions, so that you could use your abilities. And I was in Project Stargate. I was one of the people where they were trying to figure out what was on the other side of things, and they would just throw us in. They didn't care. So, you know, we had to learn how to protect ourselves with, you know, our aura and everything going through, because you wouldn't know what was on the other side, and the traveling could be kind of rough, especially if it was a little bit unstable. But where's it going with this? My brain's fogging. Sorry.
It's just, I mean, the metaphor here is the more important the moment, the more wonderful it is to remember how you find your own bliss inside.
Oh, right,
anytime.
right.
I mean, that's sort of,
Well,
go ahead.
Ever since 2010, my powers was like super hyped up. I was having issues. My phasing was becoming a lot more prominent here, not on base and not doing the projects off world, but like here. And I've noticed that the more stronger I'm becoming, the more they try to control my emotions and, you know, make my life difficult. So I can't be in that moment, because it's like all of a sudden I'm forgetting how to calm myself and take control.
But again, maybe if you knew more about who you imagine was trying to control you and realized you have your own choice regardless at a deep level, and as that gradually evolves, I mean, you think.
Yeah, I've been fighting that for the last 5 years, because it's like,
I mean,
can I say something?
Please.
Instead of becoming more aware of what it is that may be trying to attack you, what about becoming more and more aware of who you are?
well, I've had that journey for the last.
In that, you can turn the light on. And when you turn the light on, not extent, there's no limitation to light. When you turn the light on, no matter what comes near you, the only thing that can come near you is what is in alignment with that light. And the way to turn that light on is to know who you really are as a soul, what is written in your DNA, and choose to leave the battle, choose to leave the war itself. We cling to things, because they're comfortable. It's what we know, even if it's conflicting.
The way electrical engineers would talk about, they would say, if implosion or bliss is present, the physics is that the shareable wave doesn't survive there. So the more bliss you have, the more that boots out the parasites in itself. That's
well, I have augments on my pituitary gland and my thymus that actually interfere with me trying to do anything. Because as soon as I even like start raising my vibration, I get shocked, and it gets worse and worse. So.
A lot of us have done. I did the same thing, and in 2005, I was taken from this world. I transitioned twice. My physical form was taken to 0. And it's about walking through that.
Which a success through a near-death experience is a good part of this metaphor, yes. Geraldine has her hand up. I bet she has an insight here.
Hi, yeah, just really wanted to add to that, because I think the beauty of combining physics and spirituality is that we can have a visual and maybe a more complete understanding of how we are affecting matter in the physical form. I resonate with your experiences, Apollymi, I hope I said that correctly, because, I had those experiences as well, where I had these implants put into the body very early that were interfering with the ability for this implosion to occur in the body. Actually, it's like, because it creates an interference. How our multidimensional body is that we are that vortex. So when our vortex slows down, it creates this blockage where we can't move our life force through our system. And so the idea is that the more we train our body, the nervous system, the physical, and become aware of the multidimensional aspect of ourselves into a state of neutrality, actually we can move in a more, let's say, less dense way that will be triggered by these kinds of implants, because the implants are both etheric and physical. And so they do attach more to the physical aspect. So if we bring the physical into a more neutral state, they will eventually dissolve, and it will allow for that vortex to begin to move, faster. So there are some techniques that you can do to help you come into this really powerful neutral state and no longer be in alignment with these kinds of attachments and experiences that are happening. So anybody wants to learn more, you can check out my YouTube. I do have some things on there. But Dan, I know that you talk about how, for a perfect death, we need to be rotating, we need to be in this vortex, and it's very much the same thing.
Yes.
You move out of alignment, out of resonance. That's what that means with these kinds of parasitic aspects of ourselves.
That's why fear is the mind killer, because it stops the spin. So, and the spin is what you need to implode. And yes, perfect. Yes.
And what about for those who actually have physical trauma? So I've had some extensive physical trauma in my life, and a lot of the nervous system is just constantly on hypervigilance in a sense. So how do we embrace? I mean, obviously the food, right, and good company, avoid conflict, and toxic people, things like that.
But the theory of collapse there is that at the moment of trauma, there was a discontinuity in memory. So if you go back to the moment of maximum pain and experience it fully, you can relax through it. So it's the disconnect that happened at the moment of maximum pain that the memory was discontinued. So that's the theory of collapse. It's easy to say, but I think it is possible to do.
Absolutely possible to do, Dan, and that's exactly what I do. I mean, and that's how I was able to release myself from those things, basically deprogramming the programs that were created through that trauma experience. And just by going back to those patterns of emotions, sitting with the emotion, processing, and kind of gently allowing your nervous system to understand what it means to feel that emotion in its entirety, that's how you can begin to train yourself. And each emotion is packed with data, with more emotions within there that allow you to understand the complexity of your perception that's created. And that perception is very much vibrational frequency in your body that's stored in the vortices of your chakras, which are projecting into your experience. So once you neutralize those little by little, you can change your frequency, and essentially it becomes, you come into the state of neutrality, 0 point. And that's really the most powerful state to be in.
You can be thin.
I often experience them as literally those emotions as colors. So if you have the color red, there's like 100 different types of different kinds of reds, or blue. There's 100 different types of blue. With sound, I can experience these kind of emotional portals almost that it's hard to describe. I'm sorry, Dan.
No, wonderful. Oh, this is wonderful conversation. John has his hand up.
Yes, my question is, I'm just curious as to how many people on here, myself included, have experienced extreme trauma from an early age, and is this a common thread amongst this group?
Yeah, interesting, because I would say, so interesting that so many who had such talents found it was attacked in some way, perhaps. Yeah. And
if I can, that's the beauty of it. We before we arrived here, we agreed to come in and experience all that we experienced from the very first day we arrived here, and then we're given free will. So we can choose to see it as trauma, or we can choose to see it as the integration of that which we need to push us forward to see the gift in it. to see it as the gift and not the trauma.
Agreed.
And not adhering to those things. And that's how, once we open that spectrum of possibilities, that we then get to sit in the place of the student of the situation, and we get to learn with it, not learn from it, but learn with it as being a part of it, and no longer seeing, you know, I was at 10 months old, my biological mother decided to pack my 2 older brothers up and her things and their things and leave. But yet she didn't take me with her. She left me in the floor of a kitchen with a bottle of water and decided that whatever was supposed to happen to me would happen. And at that moment, I got to remember, well, how am I going to survive? And the vibrational perception began at that point, remembering who I am. So we can always, always, in any situation, simply choose to see the gift. And what, as we all know, I hope we all know and are aware of, whatever we focus on grows. So if we're focusing on the conflict of something, it's going to keep growing. No matter what avenue you take in it, no matter how you try and figure it out. But the moment you see the situation as the gift, that's what comes to you. That's what comes to your awareness, and that's not in the mind. That is a perspective and an aspect of us that we all have that is beyond the capacities of the human brain. No matter how brilliant the mind, it is beyond the capacities. When we come into that place of the gift of it all, the quantum field of possibility then opens up. Because in the brain, the field of possibilities, no matter how brilliant that brain is very limited in comparison to what is of the ethereal. And the gift lies in the ethereal and not in the mind.
And maybe the gift also fits the metaphor of access to the still point, which is the Stargate. So you get to the still point when you experience this collapse process. It kind of fits together.
Yeah, the still point is that place of non-conflict, non-discord. It is a place, the place of harmony. And when that, and when people refer to the void, I'm like, well, wait a minute. That place you're calling the void is where everything is. That's where the reality of everything is. All the illusional parts is what we think of in our minds and we see with our physical eyes and things like that. This place that people refer to as a void is a misconception. It's where all the field of possibility resides.
Right. And in the physics language, from the still point, you get leverage and inhabit the array. So it's the same beautiful metaphor. Wonderful. Thank you. And there's more hands up here. How are we doing? This has been a wonderful conversation. Anyone else?
My gift today is to meet you, everybody, because we are amazing people.
Thank you. And I would encourage everyone to look at Jean Charles' famous, fabulous movie, South Shore, and his websites where his story is in detail. And I think it's a beautiful metaphor for where he wanted to stay about when does the lucid dreaming become the Stargate? That it is. And I think Jean Charles inhabited the still point too. So these stories fit together. It's been really fun.
Very important than South Shore with the movie with a real events inside, but it's a little romance, okay? But the best is Starseed Revelation is about 100% real about my life in the SSP, French SSP, and my experience. South Shore is fiction and like X-File, you know?
Yes,
but
yes.
Starseed Revelation is the masterpiece, and all is real.
That's beautiful. It's amazing. So it's a beautiful gift to the group. Speaking of the gift.
Thank you.
John, do you want to share?
I just want to take a pause. Again.
He wants a pause.
Just a pause.
Have some
such
water.
Great energy, such great contributions, everyone. Just pause. Whew.
Thank you.
Coming into that we consciousness, that where we're safe in the physical and our physical emotions have become neutralized over time. Yes, all the brilliance is here.
A blessing.
Blessings. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We're in the still point together all the time. Thank you, Alex. We had fun. We'll do this again anytime the spirit moves.
Yeah, and I just wanted to get a, Sean has a question.
Yeah, sure.
Or something to offer.
Sure. Going into one of Apollymi Mandylion, and what she said on trauma, and going off that subject, how to resolve it. Everyone's dealing with trauma in different ways, whether they inherit it from other lives, DNA lineage, or this life, and there's many different ways to deal with it. It's all like a compression of negative energy, motion, emotions in the field as the hologram emitting infinite light splitting, and we can revisit this trauma based in time, give it focus, attention, expose the finite amount of size and scale that it has, find if it's a compression or an explosive force like pain, and then start bringing the opposite to it in a compression field of healing and love and focus, and start shrinking it down, allowing it to flow into what it wants to become. We like, based on how big a trauma is, it can be a big thing, and it can disrupt the soul and make fracturization of the consciousness and compartmentalization, which then creates alter personalities, and they come up at different times to remind us of the trauma, as well as how we're dealing with entanglement with other beings, such as targeting. It's the end goal, like with what John Newman said, is to end the war. And when we get into get put into the scenario where things want a war with us and we don't want a war with them, we have to bring them to non-motivation and stillness, which would have to do with tracking back and interviewing what their beef is, which usually has to do with hate, which is the opposite of love, and it arises out of the need to protect something they love. All hate stems out of that, which something that they want to protect or hold on to, like control or dynamics of something they're afraid of, is like most of the dark forces that are still exist. Some, it's like way less, like with how the dark feet, most of it leaving. Any remnant aspects of that would, most of it, their continuation is based on their need to protect something they love, control over the scenario they think it needs to be, as well as fear of loss of that. And then so reflecting anything they send at us in like an Aikido redirection, as well as a way to transmute that energy they send at us and into their own antidote for themselves, because we can then turn that into something that brings their heart back online. We are like the antidote for evil. We're the antidote for empathic shutdown for a lot of these species that have their heart turned off, and the like what Dan Winter goes with, the bliss creation. We can release these blocks, these limitations, all these things that are projected at us psionically, get up underneath those, go back to the moment of targeting in the timeline when it first started, project things like camouflage to the nth degree, because when we're growing at a high rate and increasing our light, we have to increase camouflage to prevent the things that want to be the maintainers of the king of the hill battle. Increase fortressing, offense, defense, but also bringing all war to peace and transmuting war energy in individuals that are in entanglement, by bringing them to realization that we are ultimately them, and they don't need to be harming themselves, and we can all live to peace, and we don't need to like stop them from being who they are, but we need to have sovereignty in ourselves as a species and not being controlled anymore. And if 99% of the beings I think you can resolve with love, and like a love virus emission, that if they're force entangling with you, you can just like bring them on a peace loving amplitude journey that resolves all their trauma, while also you want to some of the big predators are like entanglement traps. So you got to do loving detachment from them while like doing this like compassionate kind of healing thing of like bringing them wholeness of all the stuff of the reason why they're attaching to you in the first place, because you have what they don't have, and bringing them back to wholeness, like soul shards, trauma, things that were stolen from them, energy, and bring them back to that state of remembering and that feeling that they're not just alone. They don't have to be an ego all the time, and they're not separate from the universe. And then they realize that you're the antidote for them. And while doing that, detaching from them and bringing to a piece of your own bubble of reality that is you're sovereign over it, and you're not letting anything else program it, so that it's strong, and anything that knows about you and is interfering and attacking and targeting, you have the right to it's hard in the bigger points if you're really targeted and they're like bombarding you with pain and all this stuff. So 99% of the time, if you can build up in strength and ability and resilience and offense and fortress defense to where you can shine that huge light of love and joy that will change them. But if you have to, in the natural law, do no harm but take no shit, you have the right to defend yourself. And if you have to get them to stop, people have learned that ability if they're depending on the degrees of evil. So,
well, I think we nominate you to be spiritual therapy for Putin also.
Hi. That'd be. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Because I was gonna kind of go on a topic. If everyone in this group learned how to just hug themselves and transmute all the hate in it's not something that we hold expressively, but our egos, the inherited egos of the DNA lineages, our past lives, and we started transmuting all the units of hate energy into love. It's an explosive force, so implode it, collapse it into an implosive loving force. And then we started cultivating that and shining that greatly, and then affecting the rest of the world, and then started draining, transmuting all the hate within these leaders. Man, that would make a huge difference.
Exactly. I think you got the plan for us. Wonderful.
Change in 10 minutes too.
Can I jump in, Sean? That triggered such a moment in me that we can flip any moment of attack to our advantage by okay, so now you've given me your home address, you've given me your email, you send me a virus, I'm sending you my love bomb. Whatever you send to me, I return to sender with 1,000-fold consciousness. So boom, you get it back. Woo!
Return it with a love bomb. Amen. Good plan. All right. Well, this has been a blessing. Is everyone happy? I think let's share this feeling with the world. What else is fun? Are we a shareable wave?
Yeah, can I ask you, if I can ask you, Dan, and what is your what's the latest with the bioarchitecture in terms of communities being built off the grid, for instance? Because a lot of my friends are coming to me saying the same things. They're actually saying, yeah, I want to do that too. I want to get off the grid and go sustainable and use energy.
Well, we turned the global bioarchitecture curriculum, goldenmean.info/architecture, into a global network of biological architects, which is bioarchitects.net. And that network is growing rapidly. Actually, Earth in Hand just joined us. And so that is growing. And many of them have community visions, including actually Dada right here. Did you want to say something, Dada? The community vision is alive and well in many places, and maybe we should do that next time. But Dada, you had your hand up. Did you want to comment?
Thank you very much, Dan. Yeah. Wonderful, Sean. You're sharing 99% of the negative species you can solve with loving compassion. That's a beautiful idea. I love that. And then you followed it up with a beautiful phrase, do no harm, but take no shit. And to some extent, wow. To some extent, I think it's also balances a little bit, or gives a different angle on what James was sharing earlier about the need to leave the battlefield. And the way I look at it, drawing actually on the yoga perspective is the idea that time, place, person. So there's a time when indeed we do that. There's a place where we do that, that withdraw, that leave the battlefield literally, and person for a particular person. But it opens up the possibility of multiple spaces, multiple layers, and it becomes a challenge to understand at which layer and which context we're in, and following what is correct in that particular moment. And of course, the faculty that we have as humans for really doing that is intuitional. And I think there is definitely places where engagement and struggle and battle is actually what has to happen. And in so many ways, what's happening in our world today on a political and economic, cultural level, it looks very much to me like there is indeed a space for direct engagement, and indeed the use of force. And now from the yoga perspective, we have the concept of ahimsa, which of course is meaning non-harming others. But it is qualified, I think, in the way really that Sean was touching on, that self-defense does not preclude the use of force. And when that gets on a collective level of a community or a nation or indeed a planet, then it is not against the principle of ahimsa, of non-harming, to actually engage and utilize force. But again, I mean, I very much appreciate James's point also. There is a place where non-participation in that dynamic is actually the proper thing. And again, I think it increasingly as a species, we're required to negotiate these sort of complexities. And again, as an emergent and as a type of vanguard of awakened humanity that is ready to take no shit and actually stand up, then again, this intuitional faculty, I think, is very important to help us get to the right place where the right engagement becomes clear to us.
Well, thank you, Dada.
Exactly.
That's great.
Okay.
Blessings. And we have about 3 minutes to 2 hours, so 3 minutes left here. A few more hands up. Thank you. Beautiful.
Yes,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Sirva. Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Sirva. Yeah, unmute. Yeah,
Thank you so much, Dan, because I think your phenomena and uniqueness that you're bringing in the science of the consciousness is so important, because without knowing, we can't help ourselves. And what I've seen over the 30 years being a healer, teaching Tibetan philosophies, last 30 years, Gnostics, Essenes, etc., now being representing the Cosmos Federal Assembly on the planet. What I want to say is what the big trap every time happens is people are going into their uncertainty, their traumas. We have to do this homework, honestly, before we're coming together and communicating. We have to do this homework to dissolve all those traumas, not bring them up again and again and again. And I know many people over the expos in United States, in Europe, growing up in Soviet Union, I know what's going on, the inner conflict there. People bringing that up years and decades. We can't ever access to the high dimensional knowledge if we have uncertainty in everyday's life. So my request or my is when we have this beautiful, very high dimensional interactions here, when we truly need to know the physics of the cosmos consciousness, that when we bring in our experiences is beautiful, but it's uncertainties that we have to dissolve before, because we're missing out our time to hear more how this actually, what we actually have to focus to the solution, how to get into that vortex, how to get into that Stargate. And we all have that. And this is what I was looking for today. And so anyway, everything is good and perfect, but how it happens, we all learn. And just a couple thoughts about growing up in Soviet Union. That was what's happening right now in Ukraine was necessary because it is a country after collapse of Soviet Union 92 have been so manipulated with deep state and etc. So it's this collapse and shredding have been absolutely necessary to build the new souls can rise like phoenixes from this. It was necessary.
Thank you, Sirva. We take you seriously. Thank you for your experience. Thank you. Thank you. Any last thoughts? That's important.
Apollymi.
I'd like to say something if I may. Who's up?
Apollymi was going to share, and then you go ahead. Take us out, John.
Let her go first, please.
Sure. Sure.
Oh. So I just wanted to thank everybody for letting me in here. I know it's my first time being here, but I also think that I have a very different perspective on a lot of things because the last 7 years of my life, I have raised my vibrations, done everything possible. I've dealt with my trauma. I've dealt with some of the augments, but I get abducted almost every night, either for missions or for ET interactions, good and bad. And when it's trauma that is based upon augments, it is completely different than something that has affected you, either a bad breakup or your mom dying or anything like that, because it is artificial trauma that is inflicted on you for no reason. And with the augments, like I've learned to like reflect some external like weapons for like sonic weapons or energy weapons, but when it's actually attached to your vortexes, it makes it very difficult. And like I said, I have interactions almost every night. So if I break one of my augments, I get a new one the next day or the next day after that. And it becomes very, very difficult. I've done the love and light all for the last year and a half. I shut everything down, but you have to remember that I'm getting ripped apart, blown up, eaten, anything that the projects allow for me to happen, you know. And I'm not the only one. There are other super soldiers out there like me that live a completely different life. And when you're just astral traveling or doing everything spiritually, it is on a completely different ballgame because I do both. But when you're physically out there and having everything happen to you, you know, you can't exactly fight with love and light. It doesn't work that way. You know, I could walk up to someone and change their complete reality forcefully, but they also are going through the same thing that I am. And it's just a completely different ballgame. You know, you can only destroy augments so much.
Completely agree with you. Understand everything you're saying. I can absolutely help you if you want. I used to get attacked every day and it was awful. It was like torture. So yeah, and shadow work and offense, defense, resilience, please contact me. I'd love to talk with you more on that. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
There's an offer. There's an offer. And maybe
before you it's important. Actually, it's important for me to say this because it's channeling through. It's a very important thing because the level that she is expressing and what is being channeled through is that in the higher realms of fourth dimension, which is where you are, which is where you have traveled, you have cleared your fourth dimensional field to a greater degree. Now in fifth dimension, we let go of the fourth dimension, all thoughts and feelings, all of your judgments about this is bad, all of that. And it's only the higher vibrational energy that brought this deep, 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 deep subconscious, collective subconscious energy that you are carrying for the collective. Yes. Very powerful energy you have. There's so much information for you. There's information about twin energy that I feel was coming to me. There's so much twin energy in you. So, you know, I'm also here. My shamanic services are for higher consciousness and for everyone's I am. So
Many wonderful offers.
I put my email in the chat, lightedmund@gmail. Just I'll answer any and all questions.
I also put some stuff in the chat. I don't know, before we close the thing, I put a bunch of Stargate photos in there. Yeah, I'll look for your info. Yeah. I'll also contact you, Paul. And it's about like alters and traumas compressed and releasing the attachment and going back to when they first found out about you and projecting camouflage and stopping it. And if they won't stop no matter what, and you've tried the light and love, which I've also tried. Some predators are so evil, they have bounties on them from Earth and the other beings. They deserve. There's a reason for destruction.
Yeah. Well, I know that I have a lot of contracts with them that were signed without my consent on some of them. So, and a lot of them are DNA contracts that I haven't been able to get out of.
But there's some serious offers to help in this network, which is wonderful. And plus,
I appreciate it.
Plus, you've enabled us to have so much compassion that may enable us to help you also. So thank you. Blessings. It is getting late, though. Did anybody else want to have a final? Was it John?
Dan, shall we do this again over a spot of tea?
Time. Yes, but
I'd like to invite certain. Never mind. We'll go into that later.
There's a suggestion that we close with a blessing for the Russian-Ukraine stress, and let's all just hold that blessing and compassion as we finish here. But with that in mind, we're sending love to that situation and deep understanding. But John, maybe you take us out then, if you wish.
I received a message from those on high about purpose and a reminder, and one of the reminders is as difficult as some of these incarnations can be, the reason that we're here and why we're going through these things is because we can. Remember who you really are. You know, you have the tools, and sometimes, and I've been through some absolutely horrid things that I haven't spoken on in quite a while. I relate to a lot of things. Bottom line is that we are equipped to handle this, as dismal as they may feel at times. Yes, there is wisdom laden within these experiences. There's wisdom everywhere. You can turn the doorknob and gain wisdom from that. It's basically, it's a choice. So it comes down to our choice and our will. But the other part of the message that came through was a blessing of gratitude and unity. Well, me personally, I had some rather distasteful experiences in the spiritual community, and I stepped away for a couple of years. This is a wonderful welcome back, you guys. Really, it's just beautiful. You people are just, you're my people, and I just want to express that. The other part of that is
we got you, brother. We got you.
Amen. Beautiful.
Welcome
Beautiful
home.
way to end.
One more. Wait, there's more. This is actually a very ancient prayer, but I'm going to share it with you. And it's for all of us. Liano eno lahi 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 Liano eno lahi lahi Liano eno lahi 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 Liano eno lahi lahi Anatataya to kama maache putitina na niya sa pokia to ama apepechiche pokumwain maaila to maheche kakukipipinay resha botuko mama ata pamami hahala wataturohi mama upoka mamaki Chayet chitakona mama pepe Latina na maashe. Bless you all.
Blessings. Leno. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessings, everyone. Thank you, Jean Charles.
Thank you for the tears.
Thank you, Alex. When you feel the pain of the tornado, that's when you steer it. Blessings. Bye.
It's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful, wonderful meeting.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Bye. Bye.